I'm Eric.
And I'm Jaime.
And this is Horrorscope, a podcast for people who love horror movies.
And people who want to love them.
There is a bit that I wanted to do in the beginning of this, surprisingly.
Okay.
But it is a bit for you.
Aren't they all?
That's true.
They're all just...
Here's my one gift. I have many gifts during this episode, as it is our holiday season episode, Black Christmas.
Kicking it off strong.
Yeah. I want you. Could you please lean away from the microphone and say "It's Christmas"?
Oh, like a tiny voice?
The toad voice.
Is that? It's Christmas!
There we go! It's Christmas!
What is that for? Why did we do that?
That's just for me.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm giving you a gift.
Yeah.
You said it's a bit for me, so I thought you were going to do a bit that I would like. But...
No, it's a bit for you just for me. And for the listeners. You did that a few days ago, and I'm like, what? How could I be so selfish?
Oh, I forgot.
And how could I be so...
You looked at me like I was supposed to know what I was doing. And I was like...
There's a scene in this movie where they open up the door and there's carolers, and I want you to imagine the person at the door to be me, and you be the one singing.
And Toad. And Toad is also there.
But yeah,
it is Christmas. This year, fuck it all. It's Christmas. I'm normally one of those really annoying people who's like, no Christmas until after Thanksgiving, but this year, fuck it.
I mean, Thanksgiving's such a bad holiday.
And it's over already. By now. So if you're listening to this, it's fucking Christmas.
You are stuffed with stuffing, stuffed with turkey.
I got pretty alarmed at the poster for this movie. Is there a turkey on a woman's head? Or is she in a turkey?
No.
Okay. Tell me what this is then.
All right. That's a bag over her head.
Oh, it's a bag. I thought there was like a turkey situation going on here.
I like how the killer goes up and like takes a turkey and is like, you're the stuffing now.
That's ew. That's so gross. Man, it has to be a huge turkey. Or you have a tiny head. A really small head. Yeah, you're like, hats never fit me, but turkeys fit me perfectly. I don't know why I'm saying this statement. It's not going to come back and haunt me later on. Ew. Okay, so this is one where I'm a little worried because Eric is wearing a Black Christmas shirt. I see a Blu-ray and I see the vinyl.
Yeah.
Oof. Okay, I better like it.
I can't wait for you to hate this movie.
No.
We are in Christmas horror. Ooh.
More movies than I would think.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's like, I think that people are like, they're very, they love their contradictions. So it's like the more festive and happy you make something, the more they're like, how do we make this like...
gritty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your Tim Burtons.
I too lived in 2008. I remember.
Yeah, it was 2000 late.
That's right.
As Fergie once said.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's a surprising genre because there's so many movies out there that have like attempted it, and there's actually quite a few shocking, really good ones. Because I feel like when you say something's horror, that kind of like downgrades it a little bit to some people.
Yeah.
And then when you say it's a Christmas horror movie, then it
even
goes
worse.
Then it goes very low.
Yeah, I thought these all would be schlocky. But this is good.
This one's good, and there's a few others out there that are like really good.
We're gonna watch a few of them, maybe.
We're gonna watch a few of them,
or at least one of them.
What do you know about Black Christmas?
I know that there was a remake, 2006.
Wow, yeah.
I just looked at the wiki.
Ah, no! You could have just like gone through the whole.
I knew roughly. There's a remake. It was really bad. It's about sorority girls fighting against a serial killer, right?
Are we talking about which one?
Ooh, I don't know. I thought they were the same. Okay, so that's the new one then, I'm guessing. I don't know. That's why I know part of the plot of one of them is that there are sorority girls who are being killed by a serial killer, and they team up to try to kill the killer. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Home Alone, bandit style. What are they called?
The Wet Bandits?
The Wet Bandits, yes.
I think, yeah, that's probably like because they just came out with the other remake last year.
Oh, shit. So there's 3.
Yeah.
Okay, then I only know that one, I guess. So there's 3. That's all I know.
All right, cool.
That's it.
That's all we're going to... And there's
tell me.
No turkey on people's heads.
No turkey on people's heads. What else is there? Do I need to know anything about it?
Well, yeah, I'll
I thought you were going to be like, we're watching the fucking movie now. And I was like, okay.
Well, first, can you give us a wiki read?
That's right. Okay, let's do it. Black Christmas, originally titled Silent Night, Evil Night, that's a little heavy-handed, in the United States, is a 1975 Canadian slasher film, produced and directed by Bob Clark and written by A. Roy Moore. It stars Olivia Hussey from Romeo and Juliet.
Wow, yep. There you go.
I'm a nerd. Keir Dula, Margaret Kidder, Andrea Martin, Marion Waldman, Lynn Griffin, and John Saxon. That's so many people. The story follows a group of sorority sisters who receive threatening phone calls and are eventually stalked and murdered by a deranged killer during the Christmas season. Okay.
All right. What's your favorite genre, Jaime?
Oh boy, I know we have to watch more soon. So
this is one.
I guess it's now, but it's a good one.
Maybe.
Oh no, it's too late. It's too late. The hype is too real.
I was going to wear my zipper jacket, but it was a little bit too warm.
That
was literally going to be my bit, but we don't have to. We already cut to the fact of it.
I figured it out. Tell me about the movie.
It was called Black Christmas. They did change it because they didn't want it to be confused with blaxploitation.
Whoa.
So they wouldn't.
Okay.
But like after they did it for like one screening where they had it as Silent Night.
Killer Night.
Deadly
Night. What was it?
No, that's Murder Night.
Evil Night. Silent Night, Evil Night.
It's confusing too because there is a movie. Of course, surprise, in this horror Christmas subgenre, any sort of like phrase that you can manipulate has been done to death. So
Little
there is a movie.
Boy.
Little Murderer Boy.
Okay. You got me good. I don't know why.
So this came out 4 years before Halloween.
Okay. Oh,
It's
shit.
important to know.
Okay.
Into the world of slashers again to pre-establish like what came before this. There was Psycho, Peeping Tom, The Town That Dreaded Sundown. I think was before. Actually, no, that was after this. And then also like the giallo genre, which is the Italian slasher kind of stuff.
Okay.
This film came about. Roy Moore wrote the script initially. It got in the hands of Bob Clark. Bob Clark changed it up a bit. The producers changed it up a bit and kind of made it into like pretty much. It sounds like they made it to a better movie.
Yeah.
Because Roy Moore has not written any other scripts other than this.
Roy Moore is the politician.
There we go.
Who's the pedophile.
Oh.
That's why it sounded familiar. It's A. Roy Moore, so we don't know what his first name is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is weird to start with A.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's good that he's not Roy Moore.
Yeah.
So that's good. Okay, unrelated. So they fixed the movie.
They changed up the script. And it seems like all the changes that Bob Clark did worked for it. Bob Clark also, after this, made A Christmas Story.
Oh, I also haven't seen that movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's the one with the lamp, the leg lamp.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So iconic Christmas movie.
Weird.
Between this movie and that movie, he like really knows how to capture the feel of Christmas.
Okay. That's nice.
I'll let you be the judge of that. But like watching this movie and then watching like Christmas Story because it's a classic. I don't know what it is that he does. Like I always try to figure it out.
It's energy.
Maybe.
I'm excited.
That Christmas energy. It's like it's the colors. It's like there's this warmth to it. Like this movie feels very. I guess you could almost say it's kind of like Silence of the Lambs in a few regards, which we'll talk about afterwards. But like also in the sense of like being comforting, because it does feel like that kind of like it's cold outside. It's really warm. It's like kind of this beautiful, quiet time of year. And of course, then they're like, now here's a murderer.
Murder, no. That's how I know I'm boring, because I'm like, I'll watch that first one.
I think there's a channel for you. It's a Hallmark channel.
Yeah.
Or like the Yule log.
Apparently. Just watch that for 2 months.
I would love that. We're like, oh, I love film too. Like, oh, cool. What's your favorite movie? I don't know. It's hard to... Maybe like the Yule log. I think that's probably my favorite movie. So Bob Clark got his start in horror movies, and then eventually went into this movie, and then directed Christmas. Like went into like family movies. He did Porky's, which is a weird movie, Christmas Story, and then his filmography is really weird because then he also did the movie Rhinestone with Sylvester Stallone and Dolly Parton.
Okay.
And Baby Geniuses 1 and 2.
What?
I believe those are the last movies he made before he passed away. Was that so? I want when you watch this movie, I want you to think Baby Geniuses
and Dolly Parton and Sylvester Stallone and A Christmas Story. Did any of the horror movies he made before this? Are there anything we would know?
No, there's nothing that big.
Okay.
He made one this exact same year called Death Dream that has fairly good reviews I need to watch.
Okay.
There's another one he made, I forget what it was called. It had like a fun name to it, but didn't get really well regarded.
Got it.
So Roy Moore, when he wrote this, it was based off of The Babysitter and The Man Upstairs urban legend.
Okay.
Which I will not
where did that come from?
According to the articles I read, it kind of got big around the 60s and 70s.
Okay. Okay, wait, so it was like a, sorry to interrupt you, it was like a urban legend before it was a trope?
Yeah.
Huh. So like the urban legend of like kids getting poison and candy or whatever, drugs and candy. It's like that kind of thing.
The guy in like the backseat getting blinded by the truck driver behind kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I didn't know that. I thought it was just a trope first.
Mm-hmm. So yeah.
It's interesting there isn't more stuff like that.
But I think we still do have urban legends. There's creepypasta.
That's a good point. They're also not good. Well, we got a Slender Man movie, so.
That's something.
Okay, so the trope is that the killer's in the house and calls the babysitter from the house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. So I'm assuming the reason why it blew up during that time is also because phones were becoming more readily available.
That makes sense. I thought that Scream... It's so weird that I thought Scream came up with that.
Oh, yeah.
But Scream is riffing on it. Is that what Drew Barrymore is in?
Drew Barrymore is in that.
She's in Scream?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
that's what I'm thinking of.
I guess there is, I didn't really
That's
think
like
about
the iconic thing in my mind, but it's weird that it came from something... That's like the parody of the iconic thing.
Mm.
Weird.
Which is why Scream is like such a weird movie, because it's like iconicizing stuff, but it's like,
that's
it's just
so weird. Okay.
referencing something else.
Got it.
There's like a little bit of inspiration from a real life murder that has nothing to pertain to this movie.
They just felt moved by it.
It seems like probably the original script had more to deal with it, but then they kind of came in. They moved it to be in a university setting.
Okay.
A few things that Bob Clark did to the script. He altered it to have a little bit more humor in it and less gore. He said he's got that theme going of like the less gore you see, the more scary it is.
Correct.
He also wrote the college students. He said that he is directly quoted saying, "College students, even in 1974, are astute people. They're not fools. It's not all bikinis, beach blankets, and bingo."
Bingo. The sexy universal activity bingo.
Which is funny where he's like, it's not like what they're showing in the movies, man, and like we have what we have going in our minds, but it's like true back then. It was like the surfer movies and like...
I guess you're right. Good for him. Okay, thank you, Bob.
Yeah, so he makes them... It's a lot more cruder, I think, in this movie, is a word to use, maybe.
Okay.
Especially during the time.
What do you mean? It's more crude?
The way he... Yeah, so I think what... Because I think what he is referencing is how like they wrote everybody to be like the surfer, like far out, dude. We're just gonna go to the beach and do some surf. Mm-hmm. And so he was like, well, no, people like they're smart and they're also like people and they're like kind of a little bit more. I mean, they're like sexually
like
active.
Edgy? Okay.
They drink, especially in college, and so he kind of incorporates those elements to it, which could go bad if you do it that way. But he does it in a way I think that humanizes a lot of the characters.
Okay.
None of the characters feel like they're just there to be... There's no character that's just like in like what you see in like kind of like an early 2000s movie of like the girl who loves to have sex so she gets murdered.
That's a miracle because there's so many of them too. This is a huge cast.
I think even the crudest character in this movie, or I guess like the most vulgar and like more drunken character, is still treated with some heart to it.
Okay.
Nobody's treated like they're just like there to be murdered.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good, I guess.
So which goes into the cast, the leading role goes to Olivia Hussey, who's from Romeo and Juliet.
Nice.
She signed on to this movie after meeting with her psychic, who said, "Make a film in Canada and you will earn a great deal of money."
Oh, okay.
Apparently she was really involved with the psychic, because Margot...
I didn't know that. I don't know anything about her.
Yeah, I don't know. I knew Romeo and Juliet in this movie. Yeah. She was also in a movie with Steve Martin, and the only reason I know that is because Steve Martin, when he met her, said, "Oh, you're in one of my favorite movies." She's like, "Oh, you love Romeo and Juliet?" And he's like, "No, I love Black Christmas. It's one of my favorite movies."
That's amazing.
So, if you like this movie, you're one step
There's
closer to Steve
Martin. There's so much pressure, Eric.
It
already has a mark against it because it's a slasher.
I know. Margot Kidder, she was in the original Superman movies. She's in Amityville Horror, Sisters. She's great. Love her and everything I see her in. She was really good friends with Carrie Fisher. They're like best buds.
That's rad.
So they're very much the same kind of person. And she was really drawn to the role because like the character she plays is the most like kind of out of control,
The Rizzo.
Yeah, wow. Gee, there you go. Let's just compare this to Grease. Yeah, so she liked that aspect about it. But she also had mentioned on set that it was like a really fun set, but like Olivia Hussey apparently was obsessed because her psychic told her that she was going
That's so funny, no.
fall in love with Paul McCartney. And so she was obsessed with trying to fall in love with Paul McCartney.
Was Paul McCartney there?
No.
What? So
Wasn't
she was just... I don't know. That would
Crazy
have been
psychic.
wild if he was there. Okay. Huh. Damn, how do we get into the psychic business? We do have horoscopes.
That's true. Give us money. Hey, wait, we've been dishing those out for free.
Hey!
Get that back.
What's already happening?
if your life has been made better by any of our horoscopes, please call us. Also, John Saxton is the cop in this movie.
I thought he was going to be the bad guy. Now I'm realizing that there's so many girls because they're going to get murdered.
Yeah.
No.
John Toronto from in the winter of 73 to 74. They leased the home that they shot this movie in, and it opens up with a POV shot, very reminiscent of Halloween, which we'll get into afterwards. But they did it by mounting the camera to this guy's head. And
GoPro, baby.
When I was watching the little documentary about it, like I never noticed before, but maybe this is not good to mention because you'll notice it too. But like I never noticed before when he's like moving around, you can kind of see like the camera like shaking a little bit because now I realize it's on some guy's head and he's probably like, oh, it's so heavy. This is not.
Oh no!
Because it's not like they had like GoPros back then.
Yeah.
So I don't know what camera they used, but it could have been light. It could have been like a fun rig to have.
Huh.
Composed by some dude, but the only interesting part about this is that this is like the origin stories. This is like the granddaddy of like the strings that you see.
Oh.
This is a little bit more, rudimentary, a little bit more cobbled together. Apparently he tied forks, combs, and knives to the strings in the piano to warp the sound.
So literally cobbled. Okay.
Truce to the word. And I do own the vinyl soundtrack, and I'm
looking at it right now.
It was on sale, and it was a beautiful print. But man,
is it really soothing?
Man, oh man, it's really soothing just to like get your workday done and hear sharp strings and like a person whispering.
Oh
phones
no! Okay, I'm getting more and more tense the more we're talking about it.
Oh, all right.
I don't know.
It's 74.
Is there like is there any assault in this movie?
No.
Okay.
No sexual assault.
Why did I think that it was like a rapist?
Oh, no.
Is it a rapist in any of them?
Bob
wouldn't do us like that.
No. There's murder in it. There is discussion about abortion and kind of like a shitty boyfriend in that scenario.
Okay, don't tell me anymore. I just thought I don't know why I thought there was like, I thought it was like a rapist murdering people.
Oh God, no.
I don't know. And I thought they were like,
I would not like that type of movie.
Teaming up to like murder the rapist. That's what I thought it was.
That's 2019 one. Spoilers on 2019
version.
Which we'll get into afterwards about 30 minutes,
it all comes together. That's why I thought that. And everyone hated that movie.
Yeah,
okay, we'll talk about it. Okay, good. All right, let's just watch it.
All right.
Okay.
Any last words?
How?
Christmas time.
Christmas time! Okay, great. Hey y'all, listening back in the edit is darkly funny, to say the least, because me singing like Toad is the farthest mood from how I felt watching this movie. More like me screaming like Toad. Honestly, I got really triggered watching Black Christmas, and I got really overwhelmed. So we made it through the first bit of recording after the film, but we had to stop and resume later. There's a cue when you're listening, and we'll tell you more about what happened later in the episode. Content warnings for Black Christmas and our discussion are strangulation, sexual violence, stalking, home invasion, anxiety, sexually explicit and violent language, and discussion of abortion and abusive relationships. Woof! This one is a doozy, y'all, but we do our best to talk about everything with levity and with serious intent in turn. So, just hang in there with us. Since it's our job and it's your job to make the world less horrific, however we can, we're supporting End Rape on campus. EROC is the abbreviation this week. EROC was founded by a group of students, survivors, and professors in the summer of 2013. The decision to form this organization resulted from the national need to formalize and centralize work around campus sexual assault. The staff are also committed to preventing sexual assault through education and engaging in policy reform, connecting survivors, parents, and friends with support networks, legal counsel, and mental health professionals. Black Christmas doesn't explicitly feature rape, but it does center around violence against women, and we felt like it was the right cause for this movie. So check out the link in the show notes and send them a few bucks if you like the work they do. That's what we did. All right, let's get into it. Ugh. I think that was like the scariest movie we've watched.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
You look so excited. Ugh. Ugh. So scary.
So for the viewers, we're going to hard cut to what we just watched, which is the end of the movie. Of course, that'd be wild if it was the beginning. And Jaime going like, is this the, Eric, is this a no? Eric, is this, no, don't tell me this is the end.
Awful. Ugh, I feel like so grossed out.
Okay. Is that a bad
No,
feeling?
it is bad. Yes,
okay.
sorry. I'm sorry to break it to you.
Okay.
This is not the type of scared I like being.
All right.
It is slashers, but it's also our first home invasion movie.
Yeah.
Ugh. Do not like it. Do not care for it.
All right. You want to recap the movie?
I don't. Okay, so the movie, it's Christmas Eve? Or they're just having a Christmas party. I don't think it's Christmas.
No, because it's like the day before, like everyone leaves, because it's right before
That's
winter
right.
break.
Okay, so they're having a Christmas party, and there is Barb. Okay, there's Barb, there's Phil, there is...
Jess.
There's Jess, there's Claire, and that's mostly what we need to know. There's like 10 girls who live in this house. There is their sassy house mother, who is just drinking sherry out of a bottle she finds in random places. And basically I don't know how to break this movie down. They've been getting vulgar phone calls, and it's like an extremely vulgar phone call that I don't really want to go over again, but like sexually explicit and gross. And the one girl, Barb, kind of gives it back to him and is like, you suck, get out of here. And they've been getting these calls a lot before. So they've been getting them before. And then...
at least one time before.
Yes. And then Claire seems like kind of sweet and nice. And she says that a girl got raped in town, and then the other girl is mean to her. And then she goes up to pack to leave. And someone grabs... In her closet, someone throws a bag over her head and brings her up to the attic, and she is suffocated. Yes, okay. So then she's missing, and we find out that Jess, who's played by Olivia Hussey, is British.
Also factually true.
She is pregnant, and she wants to get an abortion. She tells her boyfriend, Peter, who is a real shithead, who's like, no, you're not getting an abortion. She's like, yes, I am anyway. They had a phone call before that, but then he plays piano, and then he beefs up his concert really bad, and then he has a hissy fit and breaks his piano. There's another girl named Phil. While this is going on, Claire's dad comes into town because she didn't get picked up on time, and so they are wondering what happened, and the girls make a police report because of the creepy phone calls. The cops are just kind of blowing them off, but there's one good detective named Detective. Lieutenant Fuck.
Why would you cut it off right where it says Lieutenant? It just says
The Lieutenant. There's one good detective. The girls go out. Some of the girls go out for a search party because there is a high school girl missing. And then they find her body in a shot that is really good because someone starts screaming and you only see the reactions and you never see the body. What is his name?
Lieutenant Ken.
Lieutenant Ken. That wasn't worth.
It was worth all of the looking for it.
So high school girl has been murdered. One girl is missing. Creepy phone calls, and I just remembered the ending again. The lieutenant thinks that it is the boyfriend. He thinks that it is Peter, Jess's boyfriend, and why does he think that initially? Oh, because Peter comes over and tells her she's a selfish bitch and says she'll be sorry, and he runs out of the house, and he pushes past a bunch of people coming into the house.
He does like the little baby arms and he runs away too. What is that when you go like, no?
God, he sucked. The house mother goes up into the attic because she thinks the cat has somehow gotten up there, and then she gets speared with like a hook that the killer was holding, and we never see the killer's face. We see his eyeball once later, but it's from his point of view. So we keep getting point of view shots, really far away shots from outside, and then close up a normal movie shot. So high schooler's dead, Claire is dead, house mother is dead after drinking a bunch. So that was the funny part. When they're like, let's make it a little funnier. Just her like drinking sherry from different places she's.
I think it's like her like hijinks, and then also the fellatio bit.
I see. Yeah, they give him a phone number and they say it's like fellatio 86 or something, and the dumb cop writes it down and they laugh at him.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a fun, heartwarming family film. Now
family film. Now it's for the kids.
Jesus. Okay. And then what happens? Oh, they tap the phone. They've gotten more phone calls, and it seems like there are 2 types of phone calls. I thought there were incorrectly, but there aren't. So there's like a guy saying, don't tell him what we did, and then like a kid voice, and like a woman's voice, and like a creepy pervert voice. Yeah. So he's doing a one-man show, though.
Yeah.
Gross.
Welcome to my performance art.
Ew. So Phil and Jess and Barb are the ones left. Barb has a nightmare that she's kind of like, she's the Rizzo, as we described her earlier. She thinks she was the one who was mean to Claire when she went up, so she thinks everyone's going to blame her if she's dead. Everyone really jumped to her being dead really quick. She's gone for a day. They're like, oh, she's super dead. Just
it's
like
the
immediately.
70s.
No shit, it's the 70s. And then, so the kid gets murdered, and then they open the door, and then there's child carolers, and I'm like, what the fuck? A kid just got murdered walking around. And then someone comes and it's like, kids, get in the car. I'm like, okay, that was a little bit late. Someone had been a murderer. They could have murdered all the carolers. They don't have
cell phones. They don't have little alerts on their phones to tell them that there's been murder.
I guess you're right. What would we do without Twitter? So
be murdered.
Be murdered. Jess and Phil are freaking out. They're left in the house. There's like a neighborhood watch going around, but that doesn't matter because it doesn't matter. And they separate for some reason, and they shouldn't.
For who?
Phil and Jess. But before that happens...
Phil goes to bed.
Oh, that's right. Stupid. Yeah. So before that happens, they get another phone call, and it is tapped from the police, but it is the boyfriend, Peter, and he says, you can't kill the baby. And then, as well on the phone, the caller... said something that Peter said to Jess earlier when she was talking. Peter said, you're treating our baby like you're going to remove it like a wart. And then the caller said that to Jess as well. Jess remarked on it. And the phone line is tapped. So the detective had asked her about it, and she let him know. And then the detective's like, it's this fucking guy for sure. He's like, it's the creepy boyfriend. So he goes to the conservatory where he plays music, and he had a little piss baby fit and destroyed his piano after he did bad at piano because of whatever.
It's like, congratulations, now you're out of the conservatory.
And your piano, and your girlfriend.
That's not cheap stuff.
And we'll see later what happens to him.
Yeah. It's only good things for here
on out. Only good things for here on out if you're Peter. And then Jess is by herself, and they get one more phone call, and she's really freaked out. And then they are able to tap the phone call. Finally, they are able to tap it, and they find out the call is coming from inside the house. Which is the first time I've seen a movie where it says that. But that is the line, I guess.
Yeah.
The call's coming from inside the house.
Yeah.
And so there's like kind of a goobery idiot detective, and the lieutenant calls him and is like, you tell her to walk straight out the door. And don't fuck it up or I'll kill you. And that guy fucks it up massively.
I will say this movie both have shitty cop,
good cop, bad cop,
but good cop and guilty pleasure cop.
Yeah. So she's like, the guy's like, okay, walk out the house. And she's like, I'm going to go get Phil and Barb. They're asleep upstairs. And then he's like, no, don't do that. And she's like, no, I'm going to go do it. And he's like, the caller's inside the house. And she's like, great. So she drops the phone, grabs a fire poker, my girl, and goes upstairs to try find him. And then she opens the door, and Barb and Phil are like lying on top of each other. Barb was killed with a very pointy unicorn ceramic thing she had, glass thing she had. So note to self, don't have sharp objects in your above your bed. That's not a great place for that.
Have all of your collectibles be easily broken and non-stabbable.
All teddies.
Good thing Jaime doesn't have swords and axes and stuff in her
Don't worry about it. call an ambulance, but not for me. Through the sword. And so then the creepy dude is there. She turns around. She sees this one creepy, horrible eyeball. What are you looking at? You're looking around your room to see what they could attack you with.
Yes, I'm safe. Unless
Bookshelf.
I use my Criterion collection of Godzilla to smash me in the head. But nobody's going to destroy that.
It's too precious. So one horrible creepy eyeball is all we see of this guy, and she smashes the door back on him, and then she books it. He books it. He grabs her by the hair. She's able to get free, and she escapes into the basement and locks the door. And then she's in the basement with her fire poker waiting. Did I miss anything? I feel like this is going really fast.
No, you're doing great.
Okay. She's in the basement with the fire poker, and then we see someone walking around the house. And then we hear Peter calling for Jess, and you see her mouth his name, and then she like moves backwards, because I thought she was going to go to him, but she didn't. And that moment was the best part of the movie. I think like hands down, that was the best part of the movie. I was like, oh fuck. And she was like, so she saw it was Peter. She moved back into the shadows. Mm-hmm. And then Peter breaks a window, comes in, and then he's like, oh, you silly Billy, why didn't you come over here?
It's weird that used the word Billy.
Indeed. And then they're screaming. The cops finally get there. They see that the cop they stationed outside of the house has been killed. Screaming. They come around to the basement, and Peter is dead. There's blood all over him. And then Jess has her eyes closed, and then she opens her eyes. So Jess killed Peter. And then I was like, the end of the movie? So they sedate her, basically. There's a bunch of cops in the room. They're like, okay, shit, the hospital can't handle all these bodies. They got to go to a different morgue. The dad of the girl, Claire, originally, who was there, passes out in shock. And so then they move him out of the room. Someone comes and turns the lights off. And then we see a move out from that room, moving into the room with the bloody mattress, just like moving through the house, up to the attic again. We hear the creepy fucking singing that's been going on the whole time, and the talking of the person, and then it zooms way out, and then it just zooms out a window, zooms out, there's a cop out front, and then I was like, that cannot be it, and then a phone starts ringing, and that is the movie.
Yep.
Black Christmas. Ugh.
Very efficient. You did it.
Ugh. Eric.
Uh-huh.
Ugh. Okay, tell me what... Well, I want to know... Okay, my questions are budget and shooting time. How long did it take him to film this?
It was the winter between 73 and 74. They didn't have
the whole winter?
Just during that time. I don't know how long that is.
Got it. Okay.
It's also Canada. It's always winter up there,
You know what? Yeah. You need some winter, you go to Canada. Yeah. What was the budget?
The budget was $620,000.
This is our cheapest movie. Oh, it's in the 70s.
Yeah, well, it is pretty cheap. It's the third cheapest movie we've done.
Okay. Just like the house is the set piece. That's really all you need. Like a field.
Yeah, and the actors, and that's about it.
That's really it.
Practical effects, there isn't really...
Yeah, Olivia Hussey was amazing.
Everyone is.
I thought she was really... Yeah, everyone's really good.
This movie's jam-packed with people I love.
Yeah.
Also, third biggest box office. So it's the third in budget. The only ones below this was Halloween and Troll, because who knows what that budget was.
Yeah.
And then it made $4.1 million.
Oh, shit.
So it didn't make that much money, but it made a decent amount.
That's enough.
I mean,
in the 70s.
Yeah. It was a success in Canada, not so successful in the U.S. It kind of became a cult classic. Well, they mismarketed it, like we talked about at the beginning of the episode, where they kind of like named it differently.
Oh, okay.
I think we also have some stronger Christian mothers probably out there. It seems like every time they make some sort of like successful, at least back in the day, anytime they made a successful like Christmas slasher movie, like the Christian moms came out. Like Silent Night, Deadly Night is a movie that's notoriously like a lot of...
This is going to be Silent Night, Evil Night.
Yeah. Oh, Jamie, again. They did the gambit. It's just Silent Night, bad word, night.
Well, speaking of bad words, I know what you meant when you said crude now. Every other word was God damn it. In the beginning, everyone's just like, you fucking bastard, God damn it. Just like everyone. It felt like two different movies.
It evolves.
That's one way to put it, and the way I said it is another way to put it. But it felt like a completely different movie. The way that they're all talking, and it's like all the sorority kids, and they're like kind of being debaucherous, and they're all drunk and whatever, and then everyone like leaves, and then it becomes the home invasion movie, basically.
Yeah.
It like really, really escalates. But the tone felt really I don't know why the tone was like that in the first half, because it wasn't in the second half at all. And I think that's when it was its most effective. Yeah, I don't know. It got really... It felt comical, like comically swearing. I was like, no, but I swear a lot. The show earns its explicit tag.
God damn it.
But not like this. I was just like, Jesus. And that opening monologue was so creepy. I think this caller guy is the creepiest antagonist we've dealt with. I think. Do you think that too? No. Oh yeah. You do?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me what you think about this movie.
Do you want me to get into the rest of the facts, then we can get into
what's
opinions?
Yeah, talk up a little bit.
So this movie received mixed reviews on the initial release. Surprise. And it was viewed as cheap exploitation at the time. Kind of like the way I read some of the reviews and the way they worded it feels like up there with like Last House on the Left or like it was just
whoa, really?
They were just like, it's just like there to murder a bunch of girls. It's like by the numbers. It's just gross and exploitive and like nothing redeeming about it. Yada 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 yada. Which is wild to me because this movie does not do like...
Doesn't feel that way at all.
Like the kills are kind of like intense.
I think the best... Yeah, like they were like a second. Like blink and you miss it.
Yeah.
That's wild. I think that doesn't make sense to me.
It seems like they were just like doing a rush job with just like pushing it into that category.
Yeah.
Because again, slashers got bad reviews. But this is before the slasher genre was called the slasher genre.
Yeah.
And so you have the exploitation era where you have things like Texas Chainsaw Massacre coming out. And that stuff, I think, was kind of viewed in one sense. And so this was kind of just pushed into there and not really regarded or like looked at.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I don't understand how you can even like watch this movie and think that.
I don't either.
It makes me almost feel like a little bit of the sensibilities of like what Bob Clark was trying to like poke at, of just being openly like swearing and having girls like be very like sexually open and talking about abortions. I feel like some of these people weren't addressing those facts, but those were some of the facts of like... It
didn't feel like they were it felt like they were real people. It felt like they were really fleshed out, and they were like just kind of shitty a little bit, some of them, you know, and not even shitty. I think Barb was kind of shitty, but she was mostly just messed up. But I think they were I was like puzzled by your choice of the word vulgar earlier, but it does make sense. I think they were just maybe exaggerated traits that we don't like in women. Like they were crude. Not all as a whole, but like a few of them were crude, and like Jess was very frank about wanting to get an abortion, more frank than I've heard in any piece of media besides Dirty Dancing, which is what we were talking about. But like I can't think of any movie that talks about abortion in the last 20 years. I'm sure there are some, but not like a movie, like a mainstream movie.
And so like it's like not the movie. The conflict isn't like, oh, should I get an abortion? Will it?
She's like, no, I'm getting the abortion. The guy's like,
hiding in the woods, crying to her on the phone. God. He's so comically a child.
I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, it was very frank, and like, he's like, okay, actually, I quit. I'm bad at piano. Because you're getting an abortion, so that made me bad at piano, so I'm gonna quit, and you're gonna quit, and we're gonna get married, and we're gonna have this baby. And she's like, we are not. Like, I have stuff I want to do. And I was like, so what I thought was happening was there was two different callers. I thought he was one of the callers, maybe, but I guess not. What do we know? I am so mad we don't know who the guy was. Like, we don't know anything about him. That performance was wild. Who was that guy?
That was both Bob Clark and there's this other voice actor guy, and they worked together. They worked with the like a sound editor too, to like kind of put like they kind of give him some direction for it.
It was tripping me out because it did sound like the voices overlapped.
Yeah,
but they didn't.
I think they were kind of overlapping. But that I'll get into it.
Yeah, please.
I
you look so thrilled. You look so excited to get
I
into
love they call him Billy is the killer.
Yeah.
Billy is an unknown. It's like the embodiment of creating something both visually and more audibly that's indescribable. Because it's what everyone's always trying to tap into. Everyone always wants to tap into the unspeakable horrors, the things that you cannot see.
Yeah, they did it.
And like they just like there's this voice that to me every time like the phone call, I like dread the phone call.
Awful.
And it's just gross. And it's not even like the obscenities that they use is nasty and gross, but it's just like so when it starts to get more and more into the voices, it gets more and more distorted. It's just so unsettling. You can't like put a finger on it. And that like throughout the whole movie, this character, it's just like he's calm, but then he's like childish, but then he's aggressive, and then he's quiet.
He reminded me, what's that guy's name in To Kill a Mockingbird? Boo Ripley?
Oh, yeah.
Ridley?
Boo Radley.
Boo Radley, yes. Boo Radley, but bad. Evil Boo Radley. Evil Boo Radley, who will not save you in your ham costume from an actual murderer.
With his scissors. Because Billy is like this unknowable force, and we can get into that, of like what he represents and like what he is. I love horror that doesn't explain things, and I think that like this character is perfect.
Drives me crazy.
But I think even more of a villain is what's his name? Peter.
I don't think so.
Equally, no.
Bad. I don't know. I am like horrified by the bad guy, by Billy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm like free. I did not like him one bit.
So when you say you're like, okay, but you are scared of him.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not. Peter's a little piss baby.
Geez, that's any day.
Post-birth abort Peter. Fuck him. Kick his ass with a fire poker. But I wonder, so what about that dread is good for you?
Right. I do realize now, watching this movie, now finally finding another successful movie to spook Jaime, the things that spook me and excite me are yes. We're literally talking about, I think, the same thing, but we're on like opposite sides of what that kind of does.
We had a failed experiment. So I think it's important to talk about, just explain what happened afterwards, just so everyone has a context about why I'm going to dunk on this movie so hard. Mm-hmm. So after, we stopped recording, and I basically had a panic attack, and I went home. So we are now recording the second half later. It's been a week since we watched Black Christmas. We've talked off air about it, and now we're going to talk on air about it. I want to know, so we just talked about it before we started recording too. I have a long quote from Mental Floss, which is Black Christmas Movie Horror Facts is the name of the article. But it is about this movie and about Halloween. So I'm going to read it. Hang in here with me. I was really surprised by this, and I know you were going to talk about it now, because I was like, okay, of course Eric knows about this, but here's the quote. So, Black Christmas is considered one of the prototypes for what would become the slasher genre, thanks to its high body count, point of view shots, and use of the final girl plot device, among other things. But it turns out the film actually has a rather direct connection to another of the most influential films in the genre. After it was released, Bob Clark and writer-director John Carpenter were working on a project together. Do you know what project that was?
I have no idea.
Huh. Okay.
It was Baby Geniuses.
Oh my god. That project was never... Oh, well, I should have kept reading. And I already read this. I just forgot. That project was never released. Mystery solved. How often do you get such instant gratification of knowing exactly the answer to your question?
Well, now I'm upset because I want to know what movie that was. Was it the prequel to Baby Geniuses?
It was Baby Genius.
which is Fetus Genius?
That's shocking. But the work did eventually lead to Carpenter one day expressing to Clark that he loved Black Christmas and asking if a sequel or companion film could ever happen. Clark said he wasn't really interested in going back to that territory. I wonder why. But he did offer up an idea for what it could be. It'll be, this is the quote from him, it'll be after he was captured. After all, he was put in an institution, and the movie will begin the night he escapes back in town, and they don't know it yet, and I'm going to call it Halloween. Even the title. Bob Clark recalled telling Carpenter, he deserves the full expansive credit he's gotten for doing that movie. Clark added, a few words about an idea are hardly a screenplay in a finished movie. That's the whole plot and the title of Halloween. And John Carpenter was just like, yoink.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I don't know. Okay. Industry people, everyone likes to take credit. I don't doubt the validity of that statement.
Ooh, interesting. Sounds like you do.
But I do think that I don't trust anyone. That's my takeaway.
Ooh, you do doubt the validity of that take.
I just to the point of saying I'd call it Halloween. That seems very specific. And I've heard so many accounts from other people about it, but then again, I don't know if those accounts are real, because I feel like what people do in Halloween or not Halloween, in Hollywood, what they do is that when they hit some sort of success, they build up that narrative, because they're storytellers. And so, of course, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, I was the producer on Halloween. You know, they were calling it babysitter murderers. I was like, what if you called it Halloween? Boom. So, and we both know that they were going to call it the babysitter murderers. That was a prior fun fact. But
that's a good point.
I don't doubt that Carpenter had interacted with Bob Clark and they might have talked about it. And Carpenter really liking Black Christmas because it's like impossible to watch Black Christmas and not think Carpenter didn't take some inspiration from it.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. I just wasn't prepared for that. I was like, what the fuck? Like, because I did, when I was doing a little bit of digging about this. So one thing that we can benefit from recording later is that I got to do more thinking and a little bit of research. I think it's good always to get like the initial, like, usually I'll say that. I think it's usually good to get the initial strong reaction after the film, but, not this time. But having a little space to think about it some more. I wasn't sure if I was going to like turn around on the movie. Spoilers, I did not turn around on the movie. So I want to know, we talked about it a little bit, but I think we need to like cover it again. I think this is hands down like the scariest movie I have ever seen. Like this is the scariest movie I've seen. I think it's going to be the scariest movie we watch. Right. Yeah, I don't know if that is maybe a little jumping the gun of like me to say that, but I doubt it. I was surprised to see that it's also on a lot of top scariest movie of all time lists. Yeah, it was. I don't know. So, like, have you seen it acclaimed that way?
No, I haven't. I feel like this movie like gets brought up in best Christmas horror movie lists.
Wow.
And like is slowly but still not there, becoming that, well, actually Black Christmas did it first kind of movie. When you talk about the slasher genre.
So it's not regarded that way, really.
But no, I don't really see it regarded. I haven't seen it really pop up on like top 50 scariest movies.
I literally saw that on Pinterest.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. I love that it's there, yeah.
Huh. Okay. So what about this movie? I guess, what do you like about this movie? Like, what is it about this movie that you're like, this is the one? What about it?
I like Black Christmas because I guess this was also a warning sign to me that I just didn't think through, which is that this movie kind of spooks me out too. Because
wait, before you say that, something important for us to note. So Eric has never watched this movie with the subtitle on, and the subtitles are like extremely explicit. Like the phone calls are really like graphic and very sexual and very like awful, just like skin crawlingly awful. But you said that it sounded like just like babbling before.
Yeah, because without the subtitles, it doesn't call too much attention to it. And it's so, the phone calls in the movie are so like otherworldly, and they get increasingly more so. But that initial phone call, I was just like, oh my God, like I did not realize they used these words so many times.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. So like that, I was like, why would Eric think I would like this movie? I was just like appalled. I was like, not at you, but just like at the content. I was just like, holy shit. Like what ugh. So, you know, I was like, what about this? Would Eric be like, Jamie's gonna like this? You know, I was like, what the fuck? But that makes sense that you, I think without the subtitles, it wouldn't have been, you know, having to read the phrase pig cunt so many times is pretty unpleasant.
What I like about this movie, I got an uphill battle here. I don't know. Like, I think that, because I
have an uphill battle. I don't know. End of statement.
To be fair, I did not think that you would love this movie. I thought you might like this movie because I do think it is a good movie. I think that it does feel very. I think he took all the tools he used in this movie to make A Christmas Story, because A Christmas Story is like so like pure concentrated Christmas time. Like it feels like that time of the season. It has that warmth to it. And I think some of that is like the prototype in this movie. where I think that I felt like there was just always Christmas around it. Like it's always cold. There's always decorations. There's always like some sort of holiday infusing in there without being like blown out and being too much. And
Yeah.
so it's just like, and like, I don't know, and people like being contradictive, and I kind of like it too, where it's like, oh, it's Christmas season, but now there's a killer. It does a lot of, it's tame on a lot of levels too, which I appreciate about a horror movie. I like horror movies that show less to deliver more.
I don't think tame is the right word. I think thoughtful is the right word.
Okay.
I don't think it was tame in the slightest, but I think it was like
compared to other slashers. I think.
Well, I've only seen Halloween.
Yeah, no, but but I mean, tame is an accurate word compared to like what we eventually get up into like the 90s and 2000s, and other slashers, which just focus on more of the glorifications of the kills. This movie does have some creative kills in it, but it never goes to the point of just like, you know, focusing on it. Other than I guess the bag kill where he returns to her a bunch. But I felt like the characters were really interesting. I thought it's such a weird choice to just like in the middle of this movie, which we I think briefly talked about, is just like put a whole abortion subplot in it.
Yeah.
And not looking down on the main character at any point. I felt like the movie never judged her for her decision. And the movie's main conflict wasn't her trying to deal with the fact if she should keep it or not. It was just like, no, I want to keep, like, I don't want to keep this. And like the boyfriend being a crybaby psychopath.
That is a good definition for him.
It's also the name of a shitty punk band.
I'm sure somewhere. I wanted to talk about the article that you shared with me. Hang on, let me pull it up. So it's from the blog Anatomy of a Scream, and it's Black Christmas and the Horror of Being Female in a Patriarchal Society. And it talks about, and this is a really good article. It like brings up the fact that a rape is introduced, but not like shown or used as a plot point, but it's like established as a threat. And I think one of the things that stressed me out about this, that like really existentially shook me to my core, I don't know if I'm alone in this, but as a woman, I'm kind of just like always waiting to get a stalker. Like, and that might sound like hyperbolic, but literally the reality is you could like be pumping gas into your car and someone could see you in a gas station and be like, oh, I'm gonna ruin your life. And I know that's true. Like, I know men have stalkers and stuff, but like it's just like a fact. Like anywhere you go, someone could look at you and be like, oh, I'm obsessed with you now. Like and that sounds, I don't know if this sounds like obnoxious of me to say that, but it like genuinely feels like that. Like not like being in public really isn't safe a lot of the time. Like that's always a risk. Or like being just like the act of, or the recipient of some like senseless violence or just like cruelty in this way is like just a reality, I think, of not being a man. Like, I don't know if I'm sure other people feel that way and other people don't feel that way. And I know stalkers are normally like people, it's not normally like a guy jumping out of a bush, but it like hit on a very primal fear of like not being safe, like especially in your home, right? And also something I never mentioned on the podcast because I didn't think it was relevant. I don't have a lot of, and I didn't even mention this to you on like my list of triggers, but I guess I will mention it now. So I don't have a lot of OCD checking behaviors. I have OCD, but I don't have to do, like, I don't have a lot of physical compulsions for stuff. Like I don't have to like wash my hands a lot or like count or do anything like that. And I'm very happy that I don't. But what, like, my only physical compulsion is to check my locks in my house. So I'll say that I'm built different and I would survive this movie because I would unlock the fucking doors. Right. I would not have done well in the 70s, or I would have done very well, depending on your definition. But yeah, that like really stresses me out. Like the idea of someone being like in your house is just like, so I guess home invasion movies, not for me. And this kind of turns into a home invasion movie, I feel like. Does that feel accurate?
Yeah,
I guess we haven't watched any.
Because I'm trying to think on the other home invasion movies, usually the main crux of those and the fear they're playing on is somebody trying to break into your house and getting into your house, and
He's
you
already
trying.
there.
But he was like, so it was like a post home invasion movie.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even like, it was just like, oh, by the way, he's been in your house. And then it's
Ugh.
like, oh my God, okay, now I need to get out because there's somebody in here.
Yeah, it felt like two different movies, honestly. I don't know if you felt that way, but it really felt like the first half and the second half. It felt like the turning point was finding the teenage girl's body in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like a completely different movie. After that, it was just like fighting tooth and nail to stay alive and get out of there. And that's like when the pace really picks up, and when the like killings escalate and start closer. And it's like the tension is like that has been building the whole time just starts like breaking and then escalating and then breaking again and then escalating again. And it's just like wild. So I think it's a really good movie. It's a really well written movie. And I think, like what I think you were saying before I interrupted you, the characters feel very real. I know you used the word vulgar when we were talking before. I feel like I would call them messy. They're crude, but they're not like in my mind the phone call is vulgar, but like the women are messy. They're sexual. They're kind of, some of them are mean. The one girl is mean to the other girl. Like, they are anxious and they have plans for their life and they have partners and they have problems and they are like, it just like the house is a place for them to like explore their sexuality and like be more open with each other and like drink and just like fuck around. And then having that space invaded and like tainted by, I mean, like being murdered in there by the person who is like threatening them sexually, like the place where they were like safe, like their home being violated is like, it's just like, it makes my skin crawl. So I mean, it's effective. It's absolutely effective. And exactly like you said, it never condemns, it never judges her or
even Barb,
yeah.
who is
Yeah.
would be the titular, what'd you call her, the Rizzo of the group?
Yes.
Where she's the most messy in your terms.
Yeah.
But none of her friends are ever like, oh, we're done with you, or like you're kicked out. Like there's some sort of like, there's some vulnerability. There is some sort of like, there's something deeper there that the movie gives you hints at, but doesn't like fully explore.
Yeah,
like,
and it takes the time. She has that weird phone call with her mom at the beginning.
Yeah.
That like very weird phone call with her mom. Yeah, I felt like, I don't know, it just, the like senselessness of a slasher is it's just like the hopelessness of trying to reason with something unreasonable.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess you could say the same thing about ghosts or like demons or something, but like this could just happen. This has happened. Like not exactly like this, but this is just like, this isn't like a mystery, it's just a crime.
Right.
And I think that's the thing that I'm like, oh, this could just happen. Like this could just happen, and this type of violence does happen.
And I think that's why later slashers, although it might have not been like apparent to the people making them, I think that's like where the masks and like the signature weapon and all that stuff kind of comes into play.
Okay.
Where it separates it from being, because like in this movie, Billy is just a faceless figure. It's just a man.
One eyeball.
Yeah. But, and, you know, like Michael or Jason, or especially Freddy, who's like completely removed, where he's just a dream demon. It's a little bit more digestible for people because it isn't just a true crime story where somebody is being murdered. It's like, oh, it's by this, like, it's like a superhero. It's like a Caped Crusader of murder. Like,
oh my God. Yeah.
And so I think there's like a little bit more of like, you know, dissonance from there. But this movie, of course, was more in the Grindhouse era, a little bit more like, oh no, we're just going to show you the gritty reality of it. And
but like not even in like a way that was gratuitous at all. Cause I think the one thing that really like freaked me out that was really like good, like really, really good in the movie is them not showing the kills or showing them for like a second. Mm-hmm. like when we hear about the 13-year-old who died, we don't see her body, we just see the reactions. And I thought it was gonna like really quickly flash to her, and it didn't. And that was like really smart, really, really smart, but also just like, ugh.
Because even the main like titled character death of Claire with the bag over her head, comparatively, like, yeah, they're showing it a lot, but it's not gratuitous in the sense.
Yeah, we didn't even see like the wound of the house mom with the hook through her. Yeah. Like we didn't even really see that wound at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like a masterclass in being effective. Obviously for me, I think one of the things too, I think it's easy to like write off the phenomena of people loving true crime as like, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I think there are some people who are just like horny for murderers. But I think a lot of people, like, there's a reason why so many women love true crime, and it's like almost all women who love true crime. And like why there's so many true crime podcasts, and like it's I don't know, it's like even like a meme, and people like buy merch about watching serial killer documentaries and chilling. But I think it's just like in horror movies, it's a way of trying to understand violence that is like perpetrated against you and people who look like you. So I understand where that impulse comes from, but I've just never been able to stomach it. I've like never been able to do anything true crime. I started watching the Ted Bundy documentary on Netflix, and I watched like maybe like 10 minutes of it, and I was like, oh, no, I can't do this. And then now it's in my Netflix recommendations forever. It's like, whoa, pick up where you left off. And I'm like, I don't think I will. It's just not for me, but I don't want to discredit that interest, because I do think it's like exactly what horror movies are doing. You know, it's like just trying to understand cruelty. But I don't know. We have a whole episode of me struggling with the morality of watching and enjoying violence, and that's fake violence. So like real violence is not something I can get into.
Right.
Yeah. But it's like, it's a good ass movie, but like not, I don't know. It's just, so I guess maybe the other things I liked, the only thing that made me feel like an emotion that was not bad in the movie was the end shot of her realizing that it's Peter coming into the basement and then like stepping backwards. I think that was like, oh, it was just like, so like it gave me goosebumps. It was so good. And it was like, I thought for sure she was gonna like go to him and be like, hey, help me, there's a guy in the house. But her being like, oh, no, I'm going to stay in here with this, like, murderer who just murdered my friends rather than have to deal with you. Like, you are just as much of a threat to me as that guy is. That was, like, it was, like, incredibly powerful. And it was, like, I don't know, like, completely unexpected. How did you feel seeing that for the first time? Is that what you were, like, when did you watch this movie for the first time?
It had to be several years back. I love Christmas and I love horror movies, so of course, you know, I'm gonna try to watch as many Christmas horror movies as possible. And there's quite a few out there, but not as many good ones. And so this was on like a lot of top lists. So I was like, okay, I'll put it on. And then I was just like blown away of how much more it is than just a Christmas horror movie. I was just by what did you say? When I said tame, you said it was more thoughtful.
Yeah.
That it's like it's very thoughtful. It's very like, all right, like it feels like there's a lot of like thought going behind. We're not going to show the kills because that's effective. We're going to treat these characters this way. It had some. I personally thought there was some good humor in there. Like I really liked Claire's dad just kind of like reacting to this environment because he just has this funny face and his expressions. But that kind of ties back into the whole patriarchy of him coming into this house and judging everything he sees when none of it's really that severe.
Yeah.
It was just like an old lady flipping off on a poster and he's just like, oh my word, I did not send my daughter here for such profanity. And then like just like how it handled the whole all the subplots and how they handled the killer, how he's just like he is indescribable on the phone and like he's just the twist of him being there the entire time and them never finding Claire in the end, which is just like awful. And,
yeah, they didn't even find her. They didn't even find them in the attic. I was like,
that's like my favorite part, that like after all of this and like the entire time she's like in the window. It's not like she's like tucked away. Yeah. So she's just constantly looming up there. And that's like the most unnerving part. Like I just said that like it's not that gratuitous of a kill, but it is the most haunting kills I've seen in a lot of movies, because it's just so it's just like there. It's just like, and it doesn't get solved and nobody has a reaction to it other than the house mother before she dies.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's so much more of like this like open-endedness of this figure that represents so much more is still out there. He's not stopped. And like the literal suffocation of like this girl as like it's still not over. Like there's just so much unresolved stuff, which I guess kind of is like some true crime stuff of like, and they were never found, which sucks. Because that sucks to me, because I'm like, oh well, that's just real life and that's miserable. But
well, I tried to walk myself through what would happen next in the movie afterwards, because I was like, okay, let's think about this. They would have caught him right afterwards. Because he called again. It's not like everyone left. You know, like a lot of them left the room, but the cops aren't. There's still a cop there, and they're going to be like, oh my God, this pervert was calling the house. That sucks. And then the phone rings. They're going to be like, oh, it's still the pervert, and he's still in the house. Surprise! Like, what? You know, so it's like, okay, well then that's it. The end. Like they figured it out at the end. It's not like they caught him and it was.
There's a deleted scene of John Saxton running in there and just blasting him away.
It's actually Dr. Loomis from Halloween. He was running the whole time.
He was like, I finally killed the one guy I've been hunting for so long, Billy. Well, now I guess I'll focus on this kid, Michael, here.
He's like, I got here as fast as I can.
That was...
My feet are so tired.
Unrelated, but related. I watched Halloween 3 for Horror Summer Camp. And Loomis isn't in it, but it's like an anthology series. And I think the problem with the anthology series is that they try to do different movies without Loomis. It should have just been Loomis going after a bunch of different people.
Oh my God.
And like constantly popping up.
I would have loved that.
That would have been a great series. But instead they went with Irish warlocks and Stonehenge.
Damn.
Really missed out on one.
So you just told me too off air, so you rewatched the remakes? Or like in preparation for
a Christmas treat for you, Jamie. Happy Christmas. I watched 2 movies for the podcast. Aren't you delighted that I did this for you?
I'm glad you chose these ones instead of Twilight Breaking Dawn's part 1 and 2.
Oh, nah, I couldn't. That's for your...
Don't worry, I'm going to return these and then cash them in for that.
Oh, no, I don't know.
Well, we haven't even talked about the abortion subplot, really. Right. We talked about how the only time I've seen a movie talk about abortion is Dirty Dancing. And like nothing close to being modern even touches the way that this movie handles it. Like so frankly and so like not nonchalantly, but kind of, you know what I mean when I say that? Like, just like, no, this is just what she's doing. And that's that. Not like exactly what you said, like not moral dilemma. It's just like, no, this is just what's up. And that, like, I don't think you can do that anymore in a movie. And that's crazy that we've gone backwards so hard, but we really have.
I feel like if you brought up in a movie now, and sorry if I'm restating what you just said, but I feel like if you did it in a movie now, they would have to make like a really big point about it and like really talk about it. And that becomes like a really huge focus on like what they're doing with it.
Absolutely.
Or it can't just be.
I mean, this might be a difference with Canada too, because Canada is still free and legal in Canada. I just said Canada is free and legal in Canada.
We got free and legal Canada up there. Woo-wee.
That's the Canada promise. No, abortion is free and legal in Canada.
That's amazing. Good on them.
And it has been, I think, since this movie, like since the 70s or 60s. So like,
I think I saw a note about that, about how like it was around the time that this movie was being made, was that was in discussion.
It was the year before, I think. Let me look that up. When did Roe v. Wade? In my mind, let's see. Roe v. Wade was in 1973.
Literally the year before this. Wow.
The year before. So like, I don't know. That feels really important to like give the movie credit for that.
Evaluating now based off that initial phone call, because the one thing I liked about the movie was how sexual aggressive and like rapey it is, especially movies from that time were. Billy just kind of murders, which I guess isn't still not great, but
I don't think that it was like framing it was just like framing vulnerability in the protagonists, in the women, but it wasn't like, I don't know. It wasn't that phone call doesn't feel like it's getting anyone's rocks off. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So like, yeah, like I guess that's I know that's a kind of a crude way to put it, but it's the best way I can think of, because it does very often feel like sexual violence is in movies to like cross the wires, like we've talked about before, or like stimulate in a way that is like cheating because it's like horny and it's bad and it's taboo. But like it didn't feel like that way at all. It was just like, I mean, like the way he was speaking to them was sexually violent, but it wasn't like doing it to be provocative or anything. It was just like setting up the threat, in my opinion. Wow, look at me defending Black Christmas.
Hey, yeah. Brought up a really smart point on Silence of the Lambs, where you were talking about it too with Hannibal Lecter, and when he was talking about sexual stuff, and you had to say a similar point of how he wasn't doing it to be sexual, he was doing it to, I don't want to take your words, you could say, but like have sort of dominance.
Yeah, and that I think we see that too in this movie, because he's like babbling and saying all this incoherent stuff, and then Barb starts hitting back at him, and then his voice is completely lucid, and he's like, I'm gonna kill you, and then he hangs up. So it's like, as soon as she starts hitting back and like making him, I think he like heard the other girls laugh, and then that immediately is like, oh, like I'm like something flipped in him, and we don't hear him speak like that ever again, right?
Yeah, that's the most coherent he ever is.
That's like the most coherent thing. He's like, oh no, I am gonna kill you. Like, so yeah, exactly that same thought.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say glad I watched it. I'm not. I respect it as a movie. I think it was really good. I think it's like very different from what the genre became, again, like Halloween. I respect it for all of those things, and I am not really in a position to be existentially horrified on a regular basis, so I'm steering clear. But I mean, like, it's done, I guess. It gets a 5, duh, on scares. It gets a 5. I mean, it's the scariest movie I think I have ever seen. And if I was giving it on like technicality, I would give this movie like a 4 or a 5. But that's not how I've rated the other movies. I would give this movie a 1. I would give this movie a 1 because I hated it so much. And it's not the movie, and it's not because it's a bad movie. It's a really fucking good movie. I just like can't, I just couldn't stomach it. So what does that mean, you know? I'm glad it's over. I'll say that. If you're feeling brave, give it a watch. If you're not, don't.
And that's the end of our show. Thank you for listening. Please consider giving us a review. It helps out a lot. You can also follow us on Instagram at Horrorscope Pod with 1D and at Twitter at Horrorscope Pod with 2Ds. Your horoscope for the day is feeling suffocated? Try getting a new view on life.